Hello again, this is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. I got a really distinguished panel of comics joining me to talk about some of the news of the week. Tom Rhodes is here, Jim Vallely is here, and Ritch Shydner is here. Three legends in this business. I was just talking to Ritch about when I was a young 21-year-old opening for him and getting tips. So you were an influence on me coming up, and now you're on my show. So thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So before I start, I like to say where everybody is. I'm here in the Bay Area. Tom, where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles.
You down in LA, Jim?
I'm in Los Angeles as well with the Marines, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Yeah, and can I say this real quick? My history with Ritch goes back even further.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
My family's from Washington, D.C. When I was 11 years old, 1978, my uncle did open mic night comedy in D.C. And my father took me to this show, and Ritch was on the show. And one of the comedians pulled me on stage and interviewed me like I was the coach of the Redskins because I had a Redskins jacket on. And from that moment forward, I never wanted to do anything else in my life but comedian. Wow. So I've known Ritch since I was 11 years old.
So, Ritch, it's your fault.
Yeah.
That's right.
So since you were 11, so that means we should ask Ritch, what was Vietnam? Tell me about the whole Vietnam. I don't understand. Well, what was McCartney's first band? What was that? What was that called again?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how this works, guys. First time for everybody. It's just I got a bunch of topics, things that have gone on in the news and politics. We just talk. If it's funny, it's funny. If it's not, it's not. But it's always entertaining. So let's start with. Well, I don't want to start with death and destruction first. So we'll go. I got death and destruction. That's like the first thing. Actually, let's go ahead and do this because we got to talk about it. It's the main story over the last few days, the Texas flooding. The latest reporting is that 100 dead, 160 people are missing. I saw one report said 170 people are missing and presumed dead. Now, the Democrats are criticizing the Trump administration because the National Weather Service has key vacancies at the office that covers the part of central Texas that is flooded. In fact, there are hundreds of employees that took the administration's offer of a buyout because otherwise he was going to phase their jobs out anyway. So the question I have for you is this, and that is, do you think that now let's put it this way, what responsibility, if any, do you think this administration has for what's gone on down in Texas? Nobody.
The buck stops here. That's what they always.
A lot. Clearly, that's why we pay taxes, so someone can blow the whistle if they know that there's a flood coming, and we have the technology to do that, and that should be their first priority. To get those sirens in, to get that, and that also falls on a local level. I heard stories of Texas not taking funds from the Biden administration during his big bill, and they said, "Yeah, we don't want this," and we're not going to use that. That's that sort of political nonsense that goes on, where it's just like, yeah, and now it's a horrific what happened. And you can't protect it against everything, but, that's a big number that they have there.
You can do what you can. I mean, when I saw those little girls, who died at that camp, it's horrific. Tom, thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a horrific tragedy. Yeah, and those girls dying in the camp, I mean, there's nothing funny about it, but I did halfway hope to see Mexicans in snorkel gear coming up the river, but that didn't happen.
So do you, I'm not going to laugh at that. Do you, I'm restraining myself. Do you blame, do you think it's fair to blame the administration for this?
I mean, I don't know.
For the extent of the tragedy.
For any tragedy, I don't think so. I don't think there's much people can do with a flood like that. So
you can get out of the way. That's pretty obvious. People, we have the technology. I mean, maybe not everyone would have heeded those warnings, but maybe some of them would. And certainly if you have young kids under your control, you want that information as quickly as possible. Those kids are going to get the priorities, and they should have. I learned this during the LA fires. We're not prepared. Government isn't, I mean, everyone evacuate. Well, we know we can't evacuate everyone from the Hollywood Hills. in an hour. I mean, you can't get to Gelson's, on a Friday at 3. You know,
Yeah.
So I mean, this is what government is supposed to do. It's their most important function. And I'll say the same thing about the Hollywood fires, about the Malibu fires.
Malibu fires,
that was,
the response was
you can't stop it, but
insufficient.
you can anticipate it.
It's the response is what we're talking about. I mean, the extent of it, you can't stop an earthquake, but you can sure as hell, do something to make sure that.
We're not ready for an earthquake.
You guys,
no way. Let's bring Ritch in for a sec.
You're bringing way too much into the science of it. You're forgetting the faith. The Bible has shown that if God wants to save you, he'll clearly notify you, as in Noah. He notified Noah plenty ahead of time. So if you're stuck without warning, you know how God feels about you. That's that clear. That's what gets me about it. Because after it happens, all the politicians in Texas come out and say, let's pray to God. Let's merciful God, pray to God. This is the God who could have avoided the flood to begin with, right? He could have redirected the waters. God could have done a lot of things, did nothing. So he clearly wanted to kill all those people. And now you're praying to him afterwards, which is what you're really doing, is say, God, please don't kill us. Okay, you got them, but please don't kill us. Wow. That's all.
No, even
it's
that
all
time to go out and gather animals.
All selfish. It's all selfish.
Let me ask you this, because I'm assuming, I know, Tom, I know you're flying a lot, and I don't know how much you guys are flying these days. I'm flying some. I got to go to Atlanta in a couple of weeks.
I'm flying right now, man. No, I had to do that. I had to do that for Mr. Rhodes.
and boy, is my bong tired.
Oh my God.
Are you guys worried at all? With all the cuts at the FAA and air traffic controllers.
Oh my God.
I mean, apparently there was a near miss. I saw the headline, so I don't know if this is accurate. And I will tell you, I saw the headline that there was a near miss, or was perhaps a near miss within the last couple of days at SFO, San Francisco International Airport.
Oh, we've all had a lot of near misses in San Francisco. Come on, let's be honest.
I go once a month to my mother in Florida to visit her. It's a 9-hour drive. I make the 9-hour drive.
Wow.
Instead
really?
of the hour and a half flight. Yeah, I have a friend of mine. She's a long time, like a 40-year flight attendant for Delta. And she's like, I'm calling in every chance I can sick. Everybody is. None of the people who in the industry want to fly. The people who work there don't want to fly.
It's that bad. Of course.
Oh, absolutely. They're worried. Yes. I mean, he stripped all these areas of government without any, they took a chainsaw. The image that Musk had was him with a chainsaw, not a scalpel, not a headpiece, with jeweler's glasses.
Yeah.
He took a chainsaw.
Ritch, not only, it wasn't just the chainsaw, it was a madman with a chainsaw. He wasn't acting like he's serious.
All he needed was a hockey mask.
High as a kite. God bless.
I mean, how many people you need? These planes you can see each other up there. These are big planes. They can clearly, how many people do you need down there directing them? In fact, too many cooks spoil the broth in terms of flight safety.
I mean, that's just that's the thing that scares me so much about this administration, is that it's already happening. People are going to die, and die needlessly in so many different ways. Getting rid of FEMA is going to kill people. Cutting the FAA and air traffic controllers is going to kill people. What Kennedy is doing with vaccinations. And the fact that we got a measles outbreak in Texas, people are going to die. I mean, didn't they learn their lesson from COVID? I mean, for God's sake, 325,000 Americans died from COVID, died in 2020 alone from COVID. And that's not counting the people with long COVID who are dealing with it now, who some of them still may not make it. And it was completely mishandled. If they hadn't been politicized, if they hadn't demonized masks as some kind of a communist takeover because you're wearing a surgical mask in a pandemic in a crowd. Are you serious?
But I do think because I try to, I'm a writer mostly. I don't, and one trick of a writer is, you try to have to kind of see everyone's point of view, and that one particularly, it's like everything you're saying is absolutely true, but the world sort of handled it. as well. No one really, that was something that there are all different sorts of theories and all different sorts
About
of
how it
things,
started.
about, and how it spread. And if you do crunch the numbers of how it spread, there was definitely a pattern of people who are more who I thought of it as a third strike disease, where it would be the third strike that would put you out. But you had to have two other strikes when you got COVID.
So what do you mean? Like some kind like
Old age,
immunocompromised or
diabetes, overweight, you have two strikes against you. A lung
that was
problem,
it.
cancer. You have two strikes against you already. This is a third strike that took a lot of people out,
Okay,
sadly.
but here's the thing: is it didn't have to happen, and that's the reason why. If you look at the stats right now, more people in red states died than in blue states. Because in red states, they were believing that using ivermectin, using horse dewormer
True.
instead of the COVID vaccine was going to save them. That wearing masks was a stupid liberal way of controlling it, and so they died.
Well, true. Perhaps, but maybe the numbers, if you looked at them more clearly, would say those two. They have a lot of two strikes in rural America.
Oh, well, that's true.
And that's why they, maybe it was because they did come out afterwards saying a lot of it was overreach, like wearing masks outside within 10 feet of each other. It wasn't as contagious as that, it was certainly contagious. And if you're in confined spaces, but, I think, and closing up the businesses and that.
See, I don't think that was overreach. I hated the year alone. Actually, I wrote my first novel, my first published novel during that year. I had nothing else to do.
No, but I think your personal, what happened to you during that thing, But if you were a guy and your business went under, and you owed 100,
But there was government money, Jen. There was PPP, and there were people who got PPP money who didn't deserve it. Marjorie Taylor Greene got PPP.
Listen, I'm 70 years old. Don't say PPP to me. Nobody PPPs more than I do. Am I right, Rich? Knock wood.
Tom, on the flying thing, you fly more than any of us here because you're flying all over the world.
Hey, I'm flying right. Oh, I already did that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you already did that one. See, that's 70. He forgets what he said 3 minutes ago. So, Tom, you're flying the most. Are you concerned? I mean, you're getting on planes all the time.
I wasn't concerned until Rich just said his flight attendant friend from Delta doesn't want to fly and is calling in sick. Delta's my airline. I'm flying.
Delta Comfort, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You got a good shot. That's in the middle of the plane. You got a better shot in the middle of the plane surviving the
diamond
crash.
status. So when the plane goes down, just know I was in first class.
Yeah, okay, you're diamond status.
I'm a Southwest guy, and I have
That's when they hit ground. Good for you.
But what you're talking about, like the pandemic and the floods, I don't think mass deaths are going to change anyone's opinions. Like my mother, my family are all hardcore Christian, Republican, Trump supporters. And like, I was just talking to my mother about she survives off of Medicaid and how the cuts to Medicaid just happened. And she was like, no, honey, you're getting the wrong news. She said they cut the Medicaid for foreign illegal people. And she keeps telling me she got $30 back this year. So whatever, like, and her perception of the pandemic was, it was, Democrat overreach and not enough people died in her circle to have made any dent in her perception.
Also with the Christians, they all love a plague.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask Tom if his family goes on. Are they 14th century Christians? Are they like their solution is throw Jewish people in the well? Is that their solution to the pandemic?
No, not
that far.
Not that far. But you think about history. The last century they had the pandemic, and then 10 years later, the stock market collapsed. So I think we got 5 years to plan.
I'm always a fan of the plague. I think it's a great leveler, and it was a big difference back in the Black Plague when they lost about a quarter of the population. It ended serfdom because there was such a labor shortage. They had to start bidding for serfs, and so it freed them from the land, and people started moving around. No, that's serious. It was like one of the greatest labor movements ever. So if this next big one happens, that we lose like, a quarter of the population of the planet, like the bird flu makes the jump to the humans, right?
Yeah.
If that happens, it's going to be terrible for all the people who died. But for people who are left there, they're going to get some kick-ass jobs. That's all I'm saying. They're going to get some great benefits.
It's good for
There'll
employees.
be dental for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Silver Lining.
All right, let me touch on something that Tom said about Medicaid. Because they passed the big beautiful bill, and there are millions of people who are going to lose their health insurance as a result of this. But the worst parts of that bill, including the Medicaid cuts, are not going to take place until after the midterms. Because they figure that once people feel, Republicans generally don't give a shit about anything that happens that's negative or bad for people until it affects them personally. They figure that by waiting until after the midterms, they will continue to get GOP votes, and then they'll screw them. So
don't forget about the big Labor Day 2026 tariff bonus that he's going to kick back to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be, I promise you something like that's coming.
Yeah, I'll bet. As long as his name will be signed on the checks. Remember that?
Oh my God, he'll be on money by the time I'm, 75.
Well, they're talking about him on Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Which is just ridiculous.
Well, Mount Rushmore has always been a bullshit thing. It's like a fucking goddamn puppet show, Geppetto on acid, Dude, check it out.
All right. Have any of you ever seen it? I've never seen Mount Rushmore.
Actually, what is better is about 2 miles from there is the Crazy Horse Monument, because that is the Jerusalem Holy Land of the Oglala Sioux, the Black Hills of South Dakota. And in all the treaty negotiations, they never ever gave up that part of land because it was their it's their holy land. And Custer actually went in there illegally and said there was gold in there, which made people go there. So every president apparently on Mount Rushmore had policies that were against the Native Americans. So
everyone.
What's beautiful is about 2 miles from there is this Crazy Horse Memorial, and he's riding on top of a horse, and Mount Rushmore can actually fit into his head.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with that, he leaves.
Thank
you. Mic drop.
And there's a casino and a gift shop there.
Yeah. And that's what.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, yeah, I've seen this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So you never
go ahead.
You never hear about anyone talk about Mount Rushmore or the Crazy Horse Memorial, and Mount Rushmore fits like right here.
Hey, on the bottom of it, does it say, "I stole this from the Crazy Horse Monument souvenir shop"?
No, Tom, I would keep that on the down low, Tom. You don't want Trump to see that. He'll replace Crazy Horse's head with his. He'll put his head on top of the horse.
Yeah, he'll be driving Crazy
My dad
Horse.
went to Mount Rushmore, and all I got was this crazy Indian thing. How's that for a T-shirt? But back to them holding off until on the worst cuts until after the midterms. Is this gonna work? And after what you said about your mom,
yes,
of course it's gonna work.
You really think it's gonna work? These people are not. They have not seen the headlines and heard that there are millions of people that lose their insurance.
Their opinion, and
and also the next year the no tax on tips is going to expire.
It's going to work. It's going to work.
Unless the Democrats get like somebody who can really, put a message out and you can believe people, but you just make the news sources that will report this. Oh, they're lying. They're trying to scare you.
Brian, they had down here in Asheville, we had a huge flood, like a historical flood, damage everywhere. FEMA comes in. FEMA couldn't even get into certain communities because the word was out that FEMA was part of a like they're going to come in and take your properties. What they're going to do, they're going to come and take the land your house was built on. It was destroyed. So they couldn't even, FEMA workers wouldn't even go into certain areas because people were answering the door with guns.
That's crazy.
They're going to believe it. And this is a very around Buncombe County, around Asheville. Asheville's like a blue dot, but around it's all this red area. Those people all believe that.
So where did it come from? Where did it originate? Was it an online thing?
Of course, it was put out by the far right. The far right put this word out that you didn't want FEMA coming in because they were going to take your property. They were going to take your land. If you let them help you, they would then have ownership of your land.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a payday loan scam going, and it worked, and it does two things.
Absolutely.
It cuts down on the cost of government helping, and it certainly directs those funds towards wherever they want those to go,
Yeah.
air
Well,
conditioning potties,
Let me ask you this: you guys ever see Quora? Which is it's like a news feed where people will ask questions, and then usually it sounds like they're usually right wing questions that are being asked, and then people will answer, and it's like it's kind of like a blog thing. And I'll look at for giggles I subscribe to it, and I'll look at some of the questions. And one question was this, and what made me think about it as you tell me about this FEMA thing. And the question is, why is it that that liberals and progressives think that MAGA members are dumb and dumb and unintelligent, and somebody posted a list of things like this. So I'll ask you, do you think that it is, because I'm sorry, for you to believe that about FEMA is just, should I say stupid or ill-informed? I mean, is it fair to paint with that brush? Because here's the problem: is a lot of them have been informed and just refuse to believe it anyway. And in my mind, that makes you stupid. If you're willing to open your mind and to learn, or at least listen to things that are contrary to your own opinion and beliefs, that's smart.
Well, I think I don't you think there's a difference between like having a belief system and being smart and stupid?
No,
I mean, I think
no,
that, but well, then in
no, I'm
that case,
kidding. I'm joking.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, they have that belief system, and once that and I have found just in life, it's really hard to convince people that their belief system is wrong, especially as they get older, because then you're just saying, "Oh yeah, you've been following this track for 50 years and it's not working," that belief system, and it's always kind of like amazed me how people kind of they hang out together by their belief systems,
Yeah.
and at one you try going to like Colorado and not be a Broncos fan, it's like you can hate football, but if you're living in that area for a couple of years, pretty soon it's like go Broncos, because the
Jim,
pressure.
did you ever see the movie The Pervert's Guide to Ideology?
No.
It's a
No,
great
let me,
film. That
let me-
Slovenian philosopher Zizek, he hosted it. And he took these scenes from movies. And there's the Rowdy Roddy Piper movie, They Live. And there's a 9-minute fight scene in it. And he's fighting his best friend. So in the film, he finds these glasses, these sunglasses, and he puts them on. And with these sunglasses, he can see that some people among us are aliens. So he's trying to get his best friend in the world to put on these glasses, and he refuses to do it. And they end up fighting it's a 9-minute fight scene. And Zizek uses this as an example that's how people do not want to let go of their ideologies and their dogma, even if it's their best friend or their family member trying to tell them this is for your own good.
Right.
And that's the point. And my family are all hardcore MAGA people. I was just home visiting my mother. And
Where's home? Where's home for you?
I grew up in Florida.
Okay.
And my oldest brother, very sweet guy, but I couldn't believe he was telling me, it's the brainwashing from social media. People are not getting news from neutral or whatever.
Legitimate news sources.
Legitimate news sources anymore. So I can't believe he was telling me that our brothers, the Russians, he mentioned several times.
Our brothers?
Our brothers.
Well, they
anti-gay.
They hate the same people. They all hate the same people.
I've been to Russia. I was there. I had I had a late night talk show on Dutch television for 2 years, and then the same network let me be a presenter on a travel show. And I filmed a highlight on St. Petersburg, Russia. And this was a Dutch film company, so we had a lot of access because the Dutch government had given a lot of money to the Hermitage to fix the roof in the Rembrandt room and things like this. But we were filming, and we had film permits everywhere. And wherever we went, the cops would stop us, and we couldn't film unless we slipped somebody a little cash. So even with the right papers and the right paperwork, and I think that's my fear of where this country is heading. Like, you won't be able to do normal things without bribing someone, and that corruption is going to become so normal on every level. And
of course,
this woman who was our guide for the week we were there filming, really sweet Russian woman. And she actually said to us one night when we were having dinner after filming, she said, you shouldn't look at corruption in Russia as a bad thing. You should look at it as a way to get things done. And she said this with a pure, genuine heart. Like, that's just the way we do things here.
Well, we have an administration or head of administration that is complete. Every act is transactional.
Absolutely.
And so that's the way that I can see us headed that way. Everything is transactional. And that's not the way to govern. Rich, you look like you had something to say.
No, I was totally going to agree with that.
Yeah.
And you have to look at, when you talk about their belief system, first of all, people 50, 60 years, they're not going to change because they bet their whole life on it. Yeah. So they're thinking the big payoff is coming. And that's the beauty of religion, right? Especially the Christian religion, get a ticket to paradise. So they think they're going.
I saw an article about why it's so hard to get people to see the light who are in MAGA to look at the truth. And it was an op-ed piece. And they said the reason that is because of the fact that so many of them have lost friends, have grandchildren that they will never see because they've been in MAGA, and their kids say, forget it, we don't want you anywhere near us. Yeah. They've cut them off. That they can't, no matter what they hear, they can't admit that they were wrong, because it means that they threw away these relationships and family members for nothing. For nothing, in order to follow a con man, a real estate scammer, from New York. So that's the reason why. It doesn't matter what you show them, they will find a reason to disbelieve it. So
they have to.
That brings us. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was agreeing. Yeah, they have to hold on to it, and we have to start talking to these friends and relatives and brothers and be able to. I know it's hard, but I mean, I think you just have to try. And I go into radio. There are times where I do get angry at because you see patterns too. You see like new layers of cruelty being added to their persona.
Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, that's just crazy.
That is so like
Hitlerian.
Tom. What's Alligator Alley going to be like in a tent in the middle of the summer?
It's a horrible place, driving in an air-conditioned car.
Yeah.
All these pythons have been released there. There's horrible mosquitoes. There's alligators everywhere. It's
you mean released? What do you mean released there?
Well, they were released.
Famously,
they're there.
Well, I know about the problem that they have with so many pythons. That
first of all, though, I will say, the pythons are very old. They honestly haven't been funny in 10 years, 15 years.
Hey.
You see that picture that was circulating of the python, that it was a dead python who had swallowed an alligator, and they were both dead because he swallowed more than he could
split open the python. Yeah.
That's a good metaphor for America right now.
Boy, sure is. Yeah. Sure is. So back to what we were talking about talking to MAGA people. Let me get your thoughts on this. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of days ago. We were talking about the one of the things that just bothers me. I mean, I'm a grandfather. I got a little 2-year-old granddaughter, and she is biracial, and just how open the racism and the bigotry has been since Trump has been president. I was called the N-word the day after the election by a guy in a Prius. And that's what kills me. He's a racist and an environmentalist. A guy in a Prius.
Were you driving at the time?
I was driving, I was in a 68 Mustang, 68 Mustang convertible, and it was factory, and the passenger side did not come with a passenger side mirror. So I cut him off at the Bay Bridge Approach heading to San Francisco. And it was my fault that I cut him off. But then he pulls up next to me and yells the N-word at me. And the day after the election, and it was and I hadn't been called that word in years.
Yeah. It's purely Yeah.
It's like they're being given permission. So let me give you a quote. Then I got a question for you. You may have heard this quote. It's a Republican by the name of Darren Beattie. And he's a former White House speechwriter and an acting undersecretary at the State Department. And he posted on Facebook, and this is a direct quote. It has been fact-checked by Snopes. This is what he put. Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. Unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men. Now, there was a time not that long ago when that was a deal breaker. You lost your government job.
Oh, yeah.
And there's stuff that people say that it's just, what was the quiet parts they say out loud. And so I was talking about how I worry about the world my granddaughter is going to grow up in is biracial. I mean, I had a hard enough time growing up in the early 70s as the only African-American kid in an almost all white town. And my friend said, well, don't worry about it. Once Trump is gone, you're going to see all those bigots go back in the closet, that they're not going to feel comfortable saying that stuff out in public anymore, that their permission that they were granted in 2016 is gone. And my question is whether or not you believe that. Whether or not you believe that we will see statements once Trump is gone, like this one from Darren Beattie, who have no problem in a government job saying something like that. You think anything?
This movement is a white nationalist movement. Clearly a white nationalist movement.
Yes, it is.
It's from the beginning. It's eugenics. Trump is a believer in eugenics. That's where it came from. In fact, the Germans stole eugenics from us for the Aryan race theory.
That's right.
So we started eugenics. And this has been the foundation of Trump's a believer in it. This is not going to. Trump is part of that. He's the head of this movement. He jumped in ahead of the line because he was so clearly racist, more than any other candidate. And he bona fides of challenging Obama's birth certificate, the Central Park 5 ads, all that. He had bona fides in racism for years. The lawsuits against his family, the rentals. He had deep bona fides in racism. So this is not going to end just because Trump's out.
And his dad at a KKK rally in the 20s. Absolutely. I mean, it goes way back.
Totally.
So
it's all about that. And I don't know.
That's what ICE is about. ICE is just one. Hey, you know what? Now ICE, we're gonna broaden ICE's power. And ICE is going to be able to say, you know what? I want to see your phone. I want to go through it. I want to see what your memes are like, Oh, you were on that Brian Copeland show? Oh, who's that guy?
Yeah.
He cut me off once right after trial.
I mean, I love it. I don't know that we would ever see, masked agents with uniforms with no identifying badges or, and the fact that that's tolerated and there's no outcry from that, I don't think the racism's going away. I think it's been nakedly exposed and it's only going to get worse.
I mean, it's always been there. So, I mean, it's just that they were smart enough to keep their mouths shut in public.
Consequences.
Last year, I was on a date with a Mexican-American woman in Los Angeles, and she casually used the N-word a couple times. And I said, would you mind not using that word? It really bothers me. And then she popped it off again. I don't know if she was testing me or whatever, but I ghosted her. I never talked to her again. And then about 8 months ago, I started dating this woman from Senegal, which is in Africa, if you don't know geography. And she's 2 inches taller than me, and she's really dark. And she says racist stuff all the time, and I never correct her because she's really hot.
So your outrage does have a fine line.
Yeah, at least you know where your line is. Good for you.
I don't know where to go after that, Tom. I have no idea.
She was Republican also. Nice woman, but complicated.
Clearly.
No, didn't sound too complicated to me. She's hot. I'll tolerate anything. That's a guy. A guy will think, no matter how crazy the woman is, a guy will think, I can finish my business and jump off before she stabs me in the eye. That's a guy's thinking.
Yeah, cute.
Says I tell my sons, crazy chicks are fun until they're not. Until they're not.
That's it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my Lord. So it's not going anywhere.
By the way, Brian, you don't look young enough to have a 2-year-old granddaughter.
Thank you, because I'm not. Thank you. I had kids young. I was in my early 20s, which is interesting now too, because all of the millennials are either not having kids or they're waiting until they're
I have a
late 30s.
I have a 15-year-old granddaughter.
Yeah, 15.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, mine is very young, but I had my first at 20. I can't believe how young. I got married at 24. My first kid came at 25, second one at 27, and the third one at 30. And I look at that now. So when I was 30 years old, I was married with 3 kids and a mortgage, and making a living doing stand up, and somehow supporting them. So, but these kids now are not doing that. Well, among other things, it's not possible. They can't even get into a house because of us.
I have this conversation a lot, and I personally think it's like the one thing you can't do is like, if we were born in 1998, our generation wouldn't have done any, we would have been the same. I think we had different parents. My parent, I was married at like 20 and they were out, 18 was just like, if you were living at home, but, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I mean, certainly like in Italy, it's done differently. The sons stay with the family until they get married, which is often never. And even when they do get married, they still come home for dinner, I mean, that's just like a cultural thing. And I think things are changing. I think the biggest thing that's been robbed from this generation is the ability to buy something like a house and accumulate some wealth, because my mantra about America is, and listen to this, kids, America, you're on your own. You're on your own.
Yeah.
I'd expect the government to protect you. Do not, know your stuff. And,
they know that, James. They know that. They're very clear about that. The younger generation knows they're on their own. That's why they're so entrepreneurial. I want to suggest a great book, Brian, for you called Generations. Okay. Strauss and Howe wrote a book 30 some years ago. Yeah. Great book.
Who's the author?
Strauss and Howe, 2 different people, Strauss and Howe. I can't remember their first names, but Clinton, it was a big wonk book for President Clinton. It's a great book about the generations in America, their types, and we as a group tend to act the same in these archetypes of generations.
Well, they say that this generation now. Well, first of all, 3 of us here are boomers, and I guess you're Gen X, Tom. I'm assuming.
I'm Gen X.
You're a couple. Yeah, you're a couple.
Yeah.
I'm the last year of the baby boom. I was born in '64, so I'm the last year of the baby boom. But they blame us for everything and for all of their woes, and rightfully so. I mean, rightfully this generation has gotten so screwed. They had the housing crisis they had to deal with. They had the pandemic they had to deal with. They had 9/11 they had to deal with. All of these things. The tech bust. All of these things that they've had to deal with that we haven't.
They're also going to.
Yeah, we started off great Woodstock, and we ended up with MAGA.
Their boomer parents.
I'm sorry, one more time, you guys are
They're also going to have to deal with the greatest transference of wealth from their boomer parents when they die, So, you can look at that and you can compare it, what for the boomers, the people financially who have made it, there's a lot of personal choices along those ways. Like, it's expensive, divorce. It's expensive.
Not if you do it right.
Being having a bad drug problem.
And that goes to forensic files. Not if you kill them.
All I know is she was alive when I left.
Brian,
I was not being
expensive if you study forensic files.
Right.
I was going to be that guy in Law and Order going, she was alive when I left.
She took a walk. That's all I know. She took a walk.
What, her keys in her purse? Yeah, they're here. So's the dog.
Man.
But she said she was walking the dog.
And I never saw her again. Ba-bum.
No, we're a generation of baby boomers. Started off great with Woodstock and the hippies and the protest of war, and we ended up MAGA, keeping all the wealth for ourselves. It's just,
Well, Woodstock
we
was a
voted
cool
out we voted out, the Proposition 13 in California,
Yeah.
which ruined the school system.
Yes, it
Kept
did.
their property taxes low, kept old people in their homes way too
Mhm.
long.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all us.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is all us.
but it also, cut, a lot of taxes. That was like 1978, so they went pretty far with, with being able to give kids free college and whatnot.
Mhm. Well, actually,
Yeah, once their kids were out.
But we could work our way.
Please don't
through
take
school.
Proposition 13. I'm holding on to it like a fucking life raft.
Talking about.
Kate Winslet is on Proposition 13. Just let me fucking Jesus Christ.
There's no room for anybody else.
Yeah.
I know we're the worst generation ever.
Oh man.
But I do think you have to look at stuff differently. I think it's like, maybe it's like that Zen thing. Maybe, maybe it's the worst thing if they can't own a house. Maybe it isn't the worst thing.
But we could work our way through school. We could work our way through college. You can't do that now. And the thing they hate most is being lectured by us to tell them, well, I worked 2 jobs in order to pay my way through Cal Berkeley. Well, yeah, Cal Berkeley was like $300 a quarter or some semester or something.
Yeah.
Jimmy, the number one way
I still have enough left over for like weed and and
the number one way to transfer wealth is homes, houses. My dad came out of the service, GI Bill.
That's right.
Was able to get a house for $15,000 with $500 down. That was it. Okay, cheap. But black guys weren't allowed to do that.
That's right.
They couldn't come out of the service and get the GI Bill.
Redlined.
That's right.
Redlined.
And that's the reason. That is the reason why. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that is the main reason why there's such a disparity in wealth between African Americans and whites. It's like 10 times. It's crazy. And I'll give you a perfect example. Why? I have a friend who lives in. I'm in the East Bay. I'm in a suburb of Oakland, and I have a friend of mine who lives in a neighboring unincorporated little town next door. And he was talking about this dilemma that he had, that his wife's father had a home in that same little village, and he passed away, and he bought it in 1964 for something like, something ridiculous. And it's free and clear and worth $834,000. And the dilemma is what to do, whether to sell it and keep the $834,000 or to rent it out and have money coming in. So I just out of curiosity, I checked and looked up the history of this little village to see if my father could have purchased that house for, 15 grand or whatever it was in 64. And no, there was in the homeowner association bylaws, you had to be white to live there. And so instead, that's why when they talk about reparations, those are the reparations. If you can prove that a member of your family, your father, your grandfather was not able to purchase in Levittown or any of these other places, that homes were available cheap after World War II and are now worth a fortune that's passed on to their kids, then there should be some kind of compensation. That would be fair. And it would be fair to take it from the government, because the government is the one that drew the red lines in the first place. So that's my, that I'm sorry, that is my, I'm not sorry. That is my argument. Good. Nobody has anything.
Not at all.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I think that probably the reparations will probably come in more, and I think there have been attempts at that, I think there have been some government policies.
Sure, there have been some time
to right that wrong, over the year, but not very well. And nothing is like, generational wealth.
That's it. Well, I get so sick and tired of hearing white people go, well, you know what? I didn't benefit from it. Well, why should I have to pay? I didn't do anything. I never discriminated.
So I don't like that white guy impression right now, Brian. Off the charts. Okay,
Brian. I think they will actually, in the third Trump administration, give you the 40 acres and a mule they initially promised.
Fine.
The 40 acres will be in Senegal. It'll be in Senegal. That's where the 40 acres will be. But there's lots of hot chicks there. Ask Tom.
Take it.
Oh my God.
I'll take it. That's my backup plan. I'm going to become a
They're
senator.
mean, but they're worth it.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Here's the latest MAGA outraged. James Gunn's movie Superman opens this week, and I saw it the other night at a screening. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Whoa.
And Gunn gave an interview on Sunday where he said that the movie is really a story about immigrants. And because Superman is an immigrant, he comes here from another planet, and the contributions that immigrants hang on a second, the contributions that immigrants make to America, and that's what it's about. So MAGA has gone crazy. Watch Fox News. Every host has got something to say. Oh God, now Superman's woke. We don't want to go to the movies to be preached to, and they're calling it super woke. You know, and so I watching the movie, it goes deeper, and I'm gonna give a couple of spoilers. I'll warn you right now, but not major spoilers, not really plot point spoilers. But he's referred to as an alien throughout the movie. He's referred to by Lex Luthor as being the alien. Wow. And Lex Luthor hates aliens and hates metahumans just because of who they are. Second thing is Lex Luthor has a private prison that is in a pocket universe that nobody knows where it is, nobody can get to, and he's got it filled with people who pissed him off. Including there's an ex-girlfriend who wrote something about him in a blog that he didn't like. So she's locked up in there, and nobody knows where she is. Nobody knows how to get to her. Who does that sound like to you?
Boy, that's a good movie.
Who does that sound like to you? But anyway, MAGA's gone absolutely crazy because of the fact that he's not an immigrant. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Statements that Hollywood's making. Like, did you see the Lion King remake? There was these white lions that are all trying to dominate, and they don't want to give up anything to the non-white lions. But as ridiculous as these outrages seem to us, these cultural wars work with these people.
Yeah,
my mom and my family honestly think that, teachers were teaching children how to be gay and trans. So as ridiculous as each one of these cultural wars seem to us, like this outrage about the Superman movie, in their mind, their entire existence is under attack by the left.
But it's so ridiculous. I mean, and I will say, you're stupid if you believe the stories, and there are a lot of these MAGA people that believe this, that there were kids who were leaving the house to go to school in the morning and coming home in the afternoon, and they've had a sex change operation and been turned trans. Now, when my kids were in school, I couldn't get them to get an aspirin at school in the nurse's office unless I signed the permission slip.
Right,
Yet they're going and getting sex change operations behind the parents' back.
And don't you take any responsibility as a parent that your child is that vulnerable and naive that they could be sent off to school and their entire identities changed? I don't believe any of it. I think it's ridiculous.
Because if anybody in that community whose son or daughter became gay, you're possessed, you've been groomed, you've been changed by this. It's always a teacher who takes you down that path. It's out of control. That's why homeschooling is so.
It wasn't your great Santini father that sent you down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Basketball off my head. Yeah, I'll tell you, you love me, Ben. I love you, Ben. Basketball off my head.
or it could be an overbearing mother that sent me down. Don't make me relive it.
I didn't know I had Norman Bates on the program today.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware. Well, I will say, in spite of all this, go see the Superman movie. It's great. It's excellent. I'm a Superman fan. I'm such a Superman fan that here's why I don't date young girls. I was dating a younger woman once who literally didn't know that Clark Kent was Superman, and that was the deal breaker for me. How do you not know? How the hell do you not know that? If you know nothing else, how do you not know that?
Remember, Seinfeld had a bit about that. Those glasses were tremendous disguise.
Where'd Rich go? So, well, what they say in the movie is, here's how they get around it. In the movie, is they say that they hypnotize you, the glasses, so you see a different face than his. That's how they explain it. The first time it's been explained.
Took them about 100 years. They finally came up with some excuse for it, some sort of reason for it. It's great.
Yeah, 80 years.
It's great.
80-something years. Yeah, but that's it. The glasses hypnotize you, so his face looks different. And that's why
you know what? I,
You
I,
know,
I didn't have this idea, but it was with this writer. I think his name is Hargrim or something like that. But he said, if Superman came back today in real life, everyone would be freaked out. Everyone would be trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Everyone, he would be, whoever had Superman on their side would rule the world, basically.
Yeah.
And they would corrupt him, but in the meantime, they'd be shooting missiles at him. They've been, I got kryptonite. Let's say, they'd be doing everything they could to kill him. And I think he's probably right.
Well, there's a great graphic novel about 10 or 15 years old. If you get a chance to look at it, it's called Red Sun. And what the premise of it is that when the rocket comes from Krypton, instead of landing in Smallville, Kansas, it lands in communist Russia. So that's where he's raised.
Oh, that's
and
good.
and he's
Ah.
and so he's he's their nuclear bomb basically, so that Russia can take over the world.
Yeah, or like maybe another kid was sent. Was
Yeah.
Joe Rell. Hey, I have a theory though why Superman has a cape. I've never seen anybody. Want to hear why?
Why?
Because he was originally in a comic book.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're flying, and if you're just like a guy flying, you don't look like you're flying. You're just like,
Right.
Yeah.
but if you have a cape, it's waving. And that's why they have that stupid
Oh,
cape.
okay.
So it looks like he's flying.
So,
That's my
you're
theory.
saying that the artist put the cape on just to look better in the comic book?
Yeah, when he's flying, yeah.
Oh, it's funny,
so
because-
Why did James Brown wear one?
Why did Elvis?
Because he was fucking awesome. That's why. Because he was the king.
Right.
That's why. 'Cause
Wow.
he
You mean
was
Superman's a fictional character?
Schimmel had the best.
best.
Robert Schimmel had the best Superman bit I ever heard. You see this bit where he goes, I've always thought that Superman was a jinx. He's born on Krypton. That planet explodes. He goes to Smallville, where he's adopted by the Kents, and Pa Kent has a massive heart attack and dies. Then he goes to Metropolis, and crime breaks out like a motherfucker. How many times did Lois and Jimmy get kidnapped before Clark went to work at the day?
My favorite Superman observation. I don't know if it's Eddie Gordetsky, but what the hell? I owe him one. It was Eddie Gordetsky's. And then he says, how come when people say, like, look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman? He goes, who gets excited about a bird? It's a bird.
I'll give you.
You're
I'll
a
go
mad man if you do that.
This is my one Superman bit when I was first starting out. I go, how many people here at least once when you're walking going to school, at least one time tried to jump and fly in the air just to see? Because how do you know if you're not Superman, right?
Right.
If you don't try it once, you could be 50 years old, finally do it, and you start flying, going, I've missed 50 years of flying because I didn't give it one shot when I was younger.
Right.
You
Yeah.
too might be Superman. How do you know unless you give it one jump?
How many kids in the neighborhood took that chance by jumping off a garage in the backyard?
With a towel around your neck.
Oh, really? We tried with umbrellas.
That
We
was
tried
the secret thing that
parachutes
you were
and
missing.
umbrellas.
Yeah. By the way, they flap when you're hitting the ground too.
That was a video I saw.
Use them as a tourniquet.
There was a video I saw a while back, and it was just a video of guys doing stupid shit and getting hurt, like jumping off of the roof and trying to ride a bike.
Oh,
and
you mean everything on YouTube, Brian?
Basically, yeah. And what the premise of it is that's why statistically married men live longer than single men do. It's because wives keep you from doing stupid shit like that. That was the premise.
I saw a young guy, and he's got a mask on, and he's like muscle poses. He goes over, stands against the wall, and his buddy shoots him with a Roman candle, like hot balls coming out. And in 3 hits, the guy is crying on the ground, but his buddy keeps hitting him with more candle balls, more flaming balls. And at every hit, the guy goes, oh, he's crying. I go, and they filmed the whole thing. I go, I watched it 8 times. I was laughing so hard.
I saw a thing a couple of days ago. I saw a news story I shouldn't laugh about this, but it's Darwinism. It's the Darwin Awards, and it's a picture of a guy somewhere in the wild, and there's a grizzly bear behind him, and he's got a selfie of himself and the grizzly bear, and the grizzly bear, of course, after the snap, it tore him if it killed him, But the last picture is him taking a selfie with his bear behind him.
Was it for real?
Somebody
Was it for real?
Yes, it wasn't. It was in a legitimate news service. It was in.
I loved the Darwin Awards. One year the guy winner was he stole a jet assisted takeoff. You know what that is? It's like a rocket they put underneath a plane. So if they're on an aircraft carrier and they don't think they have enough headwind or whatever, they have this thing they just hook on a plane and it falls off the plane. It's a rocket. It's literally a rocket. And he ties it to the top of his car. He stole it from an Army depot, ties the thing, wraps it to his car, and he's going, and he hits the switch. There's no off switch. And there's 500 feet of skid marks, and his car is an accordion like Wile E. Coyote into a side of a wall out in the Arizona desert or Utah desert or something, right? And they didn't find him for like 3 days. Finally, these road workers spot this thing and go, what is that, some sort of art piece? There's just like a tail part of a car in a wall. And it's this guy crushed it into a wall.
Lord.
Yeah.
And he was single.
He was single. But he's like, well, how fast will I get my car going with this thing on top? And that's a guy. Boy. That's purely a guy.
That's purely a guy. Well, a woman would never do something stupid like that.
There's no wife saying, return it. Return the pocket. My favorite Darwin Award is the terrorist who sent a bomb to a abortion clinic or whatever, and didn't put enough postage on it, and it got returned. That's just classic.
Did it really come back to him?
Yeah,
is that for real?
And he opened up the box.
I got a package. It doesn't say who it's from.
Get anything.
Luckily, I'm bad with accents, but that was just a general, terrorist accent guy. I don't know nationality. We can all be terrorists.
Oh, we are, and we are. As Americans, we have plenty of locals. We have a lot of homegrown.
Yeah, in America, everybody kind of chips in to be a terrorist,
basically
with the armies and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll chip in. We'll be a terrorist.
That
went nowhere, but I thought it was a good idea.
I think it was a good jumping off point. I was reading a thing yesterday. We're looking at a time where domestic terrorism is on the rise. Real domestic terrorism, not just going after Tesla.
Oh yeah, the wife. He has a couple of drinks. Am I right, guys?
but real domestic terror, and they're all from the right. And they're contrasted. The article contrasted it to the 70s. 60s and 70s, when the last time you had a big wave of domestic terrorism, and it was all from the left, the weathermen. And I just remember hearing this stuff on the news when I was a little kid, and just scaring the shit out of me. When the SLA kidnapped Patty Hearst, and they were sending tapes that SynQ was sending tapes into the media, and I just remember how that creeped me out as a kid to hear the messages or her hostage tapes and all that kind of. But anyway, it was groups like that. And I'm wondering, you guys are older, except for Tom, you guys are older than I am. So tell me, do you know why that wave of domestic terrorism ended? I mean, what did it take for the left, left-wing extremists? And they were all suburban kids. They were like Manson's kids. Yeah. They were all middle-class, suburban white kids who somehow got sucked into this crap. So how did it end? What made it end?
Kent State started it. They shot the kids at Kent State, and they locked up Patty Hearst. They didn't let her slide at all.
No, they didn't.
They locked her up.
Sort of. She didn't get what she should have got. What she would have gotten if she weren't Patty Hearst. She got 8 years or something, and a woman got killed.
Man, I mean, yeah. But she was. I mean, they started going after him hard.
Yeah.
Did you see that Ken Burns Vietnam documentary? The thing that stuck with me about that, it said that 53% of Americans thought those kids that got killed at Kent State deserved it.
Sure.
Right.
Hey,
wow.
Martin Luther King was not a popular figure in society when he was assassinated.
No, in fact, I looked it up a couple of weeks ago because it came up on the show. Somebody said that. And Martin Luther King's approval rating in 1968 was 33%. 33% of the American people.
He was not, and he was, nonviolence,
Mm-hmm.
violence. I am old enough to remember being in a 99.9% white community growing up in the suburbs of New Jersey, and racism was rampant. And uh, some people learned the truth, and there were other people who just cling on to it, and it just goes farther and farther underground. But it's still there. It's always there, And there's all sorts of, it's just whenever like
Always been there.
whenever like a white guy sees an African American driving a truck for UPS, and he had applied for UPS and he didn't get it. That's why he didn't get that job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's his first thought, And if you just feed that narrative over and over to people, once again, it becomes a belief system.
Well, that's why I have always said Donald Trump is the president of mediocre white men. It is
Wait a minute, I didn't vote for him.
You got that one fast. Got right ahead of that
I'm
one.
telling you, there's no more mediocre white men than me.
He is the president of straight white men who have failed in life and they need an excuse rather than the personal responsibility they're always preaching. They instead need to blame women. They need to blame people of color. They need to blame undocumented residents. These drug dealers and undocumented pharmacists.
I agree with that, Brian, but I would also addend it with is that the word? White guys who don't think they were as successful as they should have been, because the rich love this guy, and for some reason the rich, they hang out by the beach, There's a good chance if you know a guy with a boat, there's a Trump flag, right in the cooler, and the rich like him, and their mindset is, and I would have even had more had it not been for these stupid rules. You know how much I lost and taxes. Oh my God, you know how much I pay in taxes. That's what keeps these guys and women up at night. Is the government just takes and takes and takes, and they don't get as much back, and they don't see the things that they do get back with the tax breaks because their accountants are all doing that.
Yeah.
And once again, that's the ultimate, transferred wealth and whatnot. But people who have stuff, they don't want to lose a dime of it. They don't want to.
It's so skewed. I mean, it's like, if I work and I earn $100,000, and the same year you earn $100,000 in stock dividends without working or lifting a finger, not doing anything but not selling your stock, you pay less on that $100,000 than in less in taxes, income taxes on it, than I got to pay for the $100,000 I actually went out and dug ditches for. And I mean, it's that skewed, and I don't know how there've been so many Democrats who've talked about bringing fairness to the tax code. It's never going to happen. I mean, I just resign myself to the fact that we will never see, not in our lifetime will we ever see it.
Excuse me, my broker's on the phone. Hold on. I'm ready. Yes.
How's your Tesla stock doing? Good? Good? All right, guys. With that, we are just about out of time.
We can't close on that joke. No, sir, please don't do
all right,
this.
go ahead. Give me something. Give me something.
I'll call back to Tom Rhodes' cynical princess.
Go ahead, Rich.
No, go ahead.
You're saying that Trump's the leader of the mediocre white guys. I do want to point out that it is worth noting that the main two groups of people that voted for Kamala Harris were black women and liberal white men. So,
but they weren't mediocre because they were liberal.
That's what I'm saying. And, if you look at a map of, I don't know why this is so hard to comprehend. If you look at the globe, it looks like a giant puzzle that's been separated. The South America fits right into Africa. The North America fits right into Europe. At one time, we were one solid landmass. And then when it broke up, some people were further away from the rays of the sun. I was in Africa about 6 years ago, and I got the worst sunburn of my life. I mean, all of this racism comes down to white people getting sunburnt.
Wow.
You're right. You're right, Jim. You need a better joke.
Family. I don't know why. you know, everyone is. I don't think we're ever going to solve this problem. That the dumber people among us can't seem to grasp that simple concept.
Yeah, we have to learn as a society to spread empathy, because that's really just the biggest difference. You know,
Well, empathy is considered a weakness. That's why the attack.
Weakness,
I
man.
know.
And this is a fear and anger regime.
Yeah,
And it's all driven by fear. And you're going to move more people by fear than love and hope. You know, Kamala Harris was love and hope, and Trump was fear and anger. And fear and anger moves people.
Especially when fear and anger is running against a black woman.
Exactly.
And that's a joke you end on, Jim. That's how you end on a joke.
You're right. That's a great way to end it. Great job.
Anything you guys want to plug? Tom, you coming up any place?
I'm at Cheaper Than Therapy in San Francisco this weekend.
Cheaper Than Therapy. That's a great name. What is it? A club or a festival? I don't know.
Sutter Street. Yeah, I'm there Thursday through Sunday.
So I've not heard of this. It's a club.
A great club. Yeah.
Cheaper Than Therapy. It's a great name.
Great.
All right, Thursday through Saturday.
I
Jim,
would go
anything?
there just to see a Senegal princess. She's a princess, right?
Who's
From Senegal? I said I would go there if I was in that area just to see you and your Senegal princess. She's a princess, right?
She is from royalty of Senegalese people, but
I just go with princess, man. People like that princess thing.
We
Just
broke
go with
up.
that.
Thanks for bringing that up, Rich.
She dismissed her subject. She dismissed one of her subjects. Jim, anything you want to plug?
I'll be picking up some dry cleaning at Larchmont Martinelli on Saturday.
A man who's done well enough to afford dry cleaning. That's good. I'm impressed. I am quite impressed.
Wait, I'm going to be picking it up to deliver it. Sorry. It's called Dry Uber Humps.
Rich, anything you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I'll be July 25th. I'll be at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley. I'm doing my show on stand-up history, stand-up comedy history.
I'll come see you.
I hope you do. Please.
Are you in LA?
I'm going to be in LA on the 20th. You're going to come to Kulak's Woodshed, then Studio City. I'm going to do it there, and then I'm going up to Throckmorton to do it up there on the 25th.
What day
I've seen a couple of
Studio City, Rich?
Yeah, Studio City, the Kulak's. Are you going to be there, Tom? Are you going to be there the 20th?
On what day?
July
the 20th. Sunday night, the 20th. July 20th.
Sorry, baby.
You fly to Paris?
On the 20th, yeah.
Wow, man. I tell you, man, you do stand up worldwide.
Yeah, how the hell do you get gigs like that?
Yeah, I couldn't only get out of the improv circuit, and this guy's all over the world.
Yeah, well, he's improv. I was a funny bone guy. Are they still around?
So was I,
even?
too.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
somewhat.
They're still around?
But,
Good.
You got a whole new generation of levity and helium and all these other comedy clubs. But I think the funny bone's still around.
That was the circuit.
Right.
This was fun. Thanks, Brian.
Are you thinking back to that?
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking about vaudeville.
Right.
Well, you are. Exactly.
All right, with that, that's Tom Rhodes, Jim Vallely, Ritch Shydner. Thanks for doing this, guys. And please come
Thanks,
back.
Brian.
Can you please come back?
Crazy Horse.
Thank you.
Love you, mean it. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us.
Give me one warning next time.
I will. I'll give you at least 10 minutes.
I get it.
That will do it for us. I'll check you out again next week with another panel of comics. If you like this show and you want to help us, want to support us, please send a link to anybody you can, any way that you can. You can come to go to YouTube if you're watching us, and please subscribe. If you are listening to us, go to whoever your podcast provider is and give us a 5-star review, because that helps people to find the show. So until next week, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.